Welcome, students of Form 1, and I'm talking towards 1A and Form 1B. Welcome to this video about Chapter 2, Paragraph 1, Parte 8, pardon me, Parte 8, and we're talking about reducing and resolving conflict. So reducing it, Baha, but also resolver is the key. How do you reduce but also resolve moments of conflict? We're talking about that. And reducing also means in Papiamento Baha, and I also found when I looked it up in the dictionary, I found rebaha. Yeah, reduce. And when you have your book, it's always smart to take in front of you chapter 2, paragraph 1, part 8 in front of you. That would be very smart. Parte 8. Reducing and resolving conflict. And of course, always the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are as following. There are outline, less than explaining, less than describing, more than naming and identifying is outline. What strategies to do what? To resolve, or to reduce what exactly? Conflict in different situations, conflict. So look at these and this one and make sure you keep this in the back of your mind while I talk about the topic of this video. So before you go study, before you go watch this video, please absorb the learning outcomes that you can see very clearly here. Look at these two that you can see here very carefully first. In part 1, this is part 2, by the way, but in part 1 I already said there are sometimes obvious differences between people. I'm not just talking about this guy is very tall, a basketball person, this guy is suited up. Those are appearances. Those are physical traits. But besides what you can see, there's also the personal traits of people. Are they patient? Are they creative? Are they honest? Are they precise? And we also, besides the personal traits, we also have their beliefs, we have their ideas, and we have their standpoints, their viewpoints. And those things are often very different when we talk about people. Some people believe in God. Some people are atheists, don't believe in God. Some people are vegetarian. Some people are very involved in politics. Some people are not very involved in politics. And in this manner, each of these persons that you can see here, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 gente. Cada gente está hopi diferente. Tem religião, tem opinião, tem ideia. Cada gente está diferente. Tem opinião, tem religião, tem ideia. And some of them are obvious. So when you put these people together, after a while, you're bound to have a conflict between people. This can be a difference of opinion. This can be a difference in religion. This can in a difference in approach. How do you solve things? Well, each of these persons can do that very differently from each other. And these are obvious differences, evidentemente. We can see them, but we also notice them, and we also see them in the fact that they speak different languages, the fact that they have different skin color, the fact that they wear different clothing. You can see there are obvious, evidentemente, differences. And one of them, one very important thing to avoid or to prevent or to solve conflicts is the subject of respect. Respect is something that has to do with how you approach each other. If you give a handshake to another person, that is a way of showing respect. But also being honest to a person is also a way of showing respect. Yeah. To treat another person respectful is doing a handshake, being honest, verdad, towards that person, and also being a partner to that person, and also treating that other person with dignity. So here you see a few things that have to do with respect, how we treat each other with respect. And there's much more to it. Treating people with respect is likely to reduce conflict situations because it makes them feel valued, valora, as individuals, and to feel that their ideas, so it makes them feel valued as individuals. Isso aqui significa de papiamento hazi hende sentinang mes valora. Make people feel themselves valued, literally. So hazi hende sentinang mes valora, because it makes them feel valued as individuals. Would be in papiamento hazi hende sentinang mes valora. By giving them a handshake, by being honest to them, by treating them with dignity, by all these things that you can see here, you show that you respect a person. And by doing all these things, you make people feel valued as individuals, which is very important for each person. Voilà. Because it makes them feel valued as individuals, and to feel that their ideas are not being ignored. Yeah. So this connects with the learning outcomes. You see strategies to reduce conflict. If you want to prevent or reduce conflict, before you go talk to other people or work with other people, you see that there are certain customs and there are certain ways of dealing with other people, and they involve treating them with respect, treating them with courtesy, with certain manners, yeah, treating them as partners, and being friendly towards other people. Yeah. Personally, for instance, sometimes I'm just very busy and I just talk directly to people. And sometimes my colleagues say to me, Bon tardi, bon dia, Martin, because I'm so much in my working mode. But by saying bon tardi, by saying danki, masha danki, by saying bon tardi, you show another people respect. And it is always very important to remind each other of that. And my colleagues sometimes remind me of this. Very important. So if you make people feel that their ideas and values are not being ignored, but they're being valued. Very important. So when these people have to work together, when these people that you see here have to work together, one way of making it easier is this person giving a handshake to this person, and this person being honest to that person. Yeah. So when you treat each other with respect, this is one strategy, one way, emane aqui, to reduce conflict. Yes, there are obvious differences, but to work through those obvious differences is treating each other with respect. And a way of treating each other with respect is being honest, being loyal to each other, being nice to each other, addressing each other respectfully, wishing each other a good afternoon or a good day or a good evening. And this shows that we don't ignore each other's values and ideas, and we make each other feel valued. Yes? And in a society, when you live in a neighborhood, perhaps you live in Bonam, perhaps you live in Montana, perhaps you live in Cerro Fortuna, perhaps you live in Salinha. When you live in a neighborhood, you have to live together with all kinds of people that are very different from each other. Potrebbe dire un barrio, kuhopi and diferente dinangmes. And with those people in Curacao, you have to try to live together. And one important ingredient of that is showing each other respect. Although we are different, it is important that we search for similarities. Nostra buscam non mes similaridad non, and we treat each other with respect. And like I said in the former video, with tolerance. And in this way, we reduce conflict. And we keep everything tolerant and we keep everything peaceful. Very important. Another way of avoiding conflict. Another way of avoiding conflict. Avoiding situations that you will know will result in conflict is a good idea. This is not the same as ignoring a situation altogether. Evitando situacionan. This is not the same as ignoring the issue altogether, but is more to do with finding an alternative solution that will not involve conflict. Yeah? So it's not so much about avoiding a situation altogether, evitando situacionan, but it has more to do with finding an alternative solution that will not involve conflict. So imagine a situation on a road that you collide towards each other. You can do this, and you collide, but you can also go search for a solution that you go to the sides and you do not bump into each other. And in this manner, you can both live your way and proceed, and you do not have a conflict. You search for an alternative solution instead of bumping into each other, instead of having a conflict together. Yeah? So this is more to do with finding an alternative solution that will not involve conflict. Continuing with this way of thinking, so not creating a conflict, but going into a direction that creates an alternative solution. And this will resolve a conflict. Parties involved in conflict need to be able to listen to another. Yeah? But attende naar mes. Sometimes it's not easy, and a third party, yeah, un party di tres, needs to be involved. Two persons are in a conflict, and you involve a third person to help with resolving the conflict. This third party acts in that case as a mediator. So you involve a third person, two persons are in a conflict, and you ask the third person to be involved. And mediation is what this person does. This person, nos llama aquí un mediator, ¿ya? En persona aquí está hace mediation. And mediation is a process in which both, ambos partinan de un conflicto, have a chance to explain their position. Yeah? Ambos partinan de una explicación tocante nan posición. Ambos partinan de una explicación tocante nan posición. They have both opinions and they give explanation. And the third party, the mediator, the so-called mediator, seeks to find a way ahead that is acceptable to both ambos, todos of the conflicting parties. So the third person tries to find a solution that is acceptable to both of the parties. So imagine a marriage in which both parties have an issue with things that are happening. That can be a marriage, or it can be two neighbors, or it can be two colleagues. And a mediator, that would be this lady, tries to find a solution that is acceptable for both parties. So a mediator, it's like a profession now. It can be like a job that you have in which you try to find what the busca una solución aceptable para ambos turdos posicionar. Turdos ambos händen or ambos turdos gruppen. The mediator, like the lady we saw in the picture in the last slide, seeks to find a way ahead that acceptable acceptable, acceptable to both of the conflicting parties. So the solution has to be something that is acceptable for both. This usually means that the parties have to reach a acceptable solution to both ambos of the conflicting parties. And this usually means that both parties, ambos todos posicionan, ambos todos partinan, ta logra un compromiso. Mino sa seguro es aqui a palavra similar em papiamento, but in a compromise, people may not get all the things they want. This is important. In a compromise, ambos partinan no te logra que quier. No, they will not both of them get what they want, but they will get some of them. So in a compromise, there is a solution that is acceptable for both parties. Ambos partinan te aceptar es aquí. But this is also important. Both will get some, not everything, but some of what they want. Not everything, but some. And this some is acceptable for both parties. This is very important what you get to see here. Acceptable for both parties, and both will get some of what they want, not everything. Yeah. So you class it first. You want to go. You want this. You want that. The one wants to go live. One part of the marriage wants to go live in Bonham. Other one of the marriage wants to go live in Blue Bay. They want to immigrate. So one party wants to immigrate to Bonaire. Other party wants to immigrate to Aruba. We have two parties, two groups, dos gruponan, dos hendenan, a marriage, and both of the parties want something different. And as they are in conflict, verbally or physically, there is a conflict, like you can see in the fists over there. But the solution will be, like you can see in the shaking hands, that is acceptable for both parties, and both will get some notur timbia, some chiki kikanankia. Some will get a bit of what they want, but not everything. And that compromise, keep that in mind, the word compromise is a very important word here. Compromise. Compromise. So I hope this video is very helpful about the compromise, about living in a society and avoiding conflict by showing respect. We also talked about that. So these are the two main keywords of this video as far as I'm concerned. If you want to ask a question, you can ask that question below. If you want to ring that bell, you can also do that below. You can ring the bell, you can ask questions about the compromise and respect. And in this section, you have learned to outline strategies to reduce or to resolve conflict when in different situations. So to reduce or to resolve conflict in different situations. Reduce, resolve. If you have a question, again, please ask it below or during class. I hope you found this video very helpful about part 8 of chapter 2 of paragraph 1. And I hope to see you during my lessons. And for now, a very well-meant goodbye to all of you.